You know when somebody is really trying to say something, but they know they got to say it in a different way? That's what just happened.
I believe Dak.
No. I believe him, too.
I know what you're saying.
I actually believe him. I think the last part is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Doing it on his own terms. He deserves a chance to do it on his own terms.
Yeah, because these terms aren't his. He's a lame
He deserves a chance, another contract, and a chance to coach this team amongst more influence on his terms might be a good way to say it.
Like, give him a contract, and then if he's ready to walk away before the contract ends.
No, or at least
I think he's talking about...
Or at least giving him a contract a year ago where you're not a lame duck and feeling a certain way. Because when you're a lame duck coach, come on, man, you already know.
This doesn't have anything to do with Jerry?
No, I'm saying it's Jerry that should have...
I'm talking about the influence. All right, we'll get into it. What do you make of the comments?
First of all, the contract is not just for this year. It's not like we're just making a decision on this year. It's a combination of all of it, a combination of all the years. So he's had his influence on it. You see what I'm saying? We're okay. Listen, we're asking about Dak Prescott. I thought that was very admirable of Dak Prescott to come out and support his head coach and talk about how he wants him to come back and everything. And I believe that. I believe that. But, but I hope ain't nobody listening to that. Because the reality is,
nobody's listening to that.
The reality is, he's not the key for the Cowboys.
Okay.
Right now. And you see it. You saw it. We go into the play, right? Dude. We're trying to put blame on everybody and say this is not Mike McCarthy's hand. That's not true.
Can I ask you one?
That's his hand.
Can I ask you a serious question, though, Michael? Real question. So, different type of coaches, but the organization. When I look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, for instance, and this is, I just look at where they're at. They made a decision to extend Mike Tomlin after we felt as though they was going to go maybe in another direction. Mike Tomlin hadn't won a Super Bowl in a long time, but he's constantly winning and taking them to the playoffs and getting bounced in the first round because it's just whatever. Sort of kind of the same thing with Mike McCarthy. Why is Mike McCarthy got to deal with it at a different level?
Because it is at a different level. Mike McCarthy has his quarterback. Mike Tomlin just found his since having to deal with Ben Roethlisberger. So he had to keep that thing together, a broken cup. He didn't have a quarterback. He had to keep it together. That's what he did. He kept them viable and in the hunt with no quarterback. Now you give them a quarterback, and they're shooting through the roof. Where is the up here? Where is the up here? What can I give them that I say, oh, we're going to shoot through the roof with? You see, I knew if you gave Mike Tomlin a quarterback, they would have been stupid letting them go. And they know they didn't give him a quarterback. That's all I'm saying. I just want us to give everything where it's supposed to be. I like Mike McCarthy, but the name of the game ain't like. The name ain't the other game ain't feel good. It's who I like. I'm emotional. The name of the game is championships, and you put yours on the table.
Is that really the name of the game? I mean, it's been 30 years now?
Yeah.
He's been one of the more successful coaches that hasn't won a championship in Dallas, right? He has one down year. He's dealing with injuries. He's
personnel issues.
And he had his star players had the best years under him. So like, unless there's a coach that can guarantee me a championship that I can bring in, and I don't know if there's a coach out there, because if you're not bringing in Andy Reid, if you're not bringing in a Mike Tomlin, who is out there that you can bring in? They say, if I bring this coach in, if it ain't Dion or maybe Belichick, who do you bring in to say, man, this gives us the best chance
of Rabel? There's Rabels out there
to win a championship.
The coaches out there.
There's always going to be coaches, but
very good coaches out there.
You got to ask who gives us the best chance, and are you willing to take that risk?
See, at the beginning of this football season, I had him as a lame duck coach getting ready to get fired, right?
Yeah.
But that was all if he had everybody intact. They made certain moves. If it was going to look like it looked in the past. It doesn't look like that. People have been injured. He's been without people, seriously. When he had Dak, they didn't get him another receiver. Brandon Cooks was hurt. CD was out there running by himself. The running game was non-existent, the running game. Like, I love Zeke, but come on, man, stop. They didn't sign Derrick Henry. We see what Saquon Barkley went out there and did for the Eagles. Durant Bland wasn't available. They let Gilmore go. All the dudes on the defensive front. Then Lawrence gets hurt. So you start looking at everything. I honestly think that Coach McCarthy, in this situation, it was going to be an uphill battle. And he's a lame duck coach at the same time. You could have gave him a 2-year deal, let him, coach players go act
like
different.
I like Mike, but I'm just saying, as a Cowboy fan, to have to endure this another season where you're going to go into the season with very little, if any, hope, it is very difficult. We can sell on what Mike has done all day long, what he's done before. We've seen things right here that we said, wow, it was 3rd and 3 in the Green Bay game, and you got your defensive back 12 yards off a tight end. I want detail.
But let me ask you this question. Wait a minute. Hold on, Michael.
This is why they don't want change. Change is rough.
Was
and
that
hard.
defense of back responsibility? Was that Dan Quinn's responsibility as the DC? As the DC to not have him in the face? Or was Mike McCarthy supposed to look out there and go, hey, man, get up?
Well, let me ask you this. If Bill Belichick's the head coach, I'm not saying here the head coach, do you not think that all of that is gone over, tied together, buttoned up even prior to? That's what the head coach is supposed to do.
Yeah, but
now you want to start breaking it out. If that's the case, if you're going to start breaking it out, then why do I give him any success for any defensive calls that
you're giving it to Dan Quinn. That's why Dan Quinn is in Washington. Because he did a good job calling defensive plays and it allowed him to get a second
what's keeping Mike here? Kellen Moore ran the offense for years and Dan Quinn ran the defense. What's keeping him here? Come on, you're running out. You're running out of options.
And when Kellen Moore left,
the offense was better.
Dak did have his best.
Yes.
But even when he was there, they were doing the same thing. So I can see if he was at 0 with Kellen Moore and shot to the top with Mike, then I'll give all that distance travel to Mike. But since he was already up here and all he did was tie in a few things.
You know, just like I know, that when McCarthy took over, it wasn't necessarily calling different plays. It was calling plays at the right time versus Kellen Moore calling them at the wrong times.
What happened? What happened between the time Kellen Moore was here and Mike McCarthy was here? I still don't see no rings on this finger. What are you telling me?
You got 3 of them. I don't know where your rings at. You got 3 of them. You got 3. Where you?
I don't want this to sound like it's an argument against Mike McCarthy. It's an argument against going through this again next year.
Right.
I like Mike McCarthy.
The enemy of great is good, right? So I hear you. Right? They're good. You guys are trying to be great.
Right.
But you talk about distance traveled all the time.
Right.
Is it easier to get from good to great with what Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys have already put together than it is to go from a new head coach who has to start a new system and bring in new personnel and new players and a new language and new assistants and new?
There's certain things that I believe in order to accomplish the level that they want to accomplish that the Cowboys should be going, that you have to do. You got to pay attention to more things. You cannot have 21, 22-year-old, 23-year-old guys off a curfew the night before a game.
So you think it's a discipline problem?
I think it's all of it. All of it. I need you thinking about football.
Play calling.
I need you to think about football.
What else?
24 hours before the game. Not just the time you show up at the game when everybody else has been eating and sleeping and on the toilet all football. And now you just going to show up right before the game and think you're going to beat them. It ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'm just being honest with you.
No, I agree with you as far as that go, but we weren't talking about
Mike
that.
McCarthy's going to do all of that and change all of this and say, hey, no, we're about football. This ain't about giving nobody freedom. It's about going to pull that thing off the mountaintop. Then I'm with it. You want to keep them.
What do you make of what Dak said though? Like that he deserves a chance and a contract and a chance to do things on his terms.
I said it's all been his terms, right?
You don't think that Jerry has anything to do with this?
Yes.
Particularly this year?
Yes, Jerry has something
So
to do
that's
with it.
my question with getting a new coach.
Jerry
It's like, I think that Mike McCarthy is a
We
good
just talked
coach,
about he
but-
won 3 years in a row, 12 games. Jerry put that roster together now.
But Jerry put this roster together, too.
Right. But he put those together, too. Were those not good enough?
But we're only talking about Mike
times
McCarthy.
he
We're
gave
not
him a
talking
roster
about
good
Jerry.
enough, but one time this roster fell apart.
And this one time it fell apart, we're talking about Mike McCarthy and not
Right,
Jerry.
because he couldn't go far enough with the good enough roster. That's all I'm saying. Y'all, I'm slow. I know I got pride. But this here, we cannot be sitting here. It's not about like. I can like them. It's not about emotions. It's about championships. Can you get me there? And yes, I do think the team needs more discipline, needs more focus.
I don't
on the
think
game.
that anybody other than Mike Tomlin or Andy Reid could have made this team a winning team this year, and that's Jerry's fault.
Well, then you're saying that's Jerry's fault for having too much faith in Mike McCarthy.
No, I think it's Jerry's fault for having too much influence over the team and not putting together the right roster. Last year, I think Jerry did do a great job with the roster, and the coach
in the 2 years
and
before
players
that.
disappointed.
So Jerry 1-3. Jerry's 3-1.
No, I don't think every year he's done a perfect job. I think last year Jerry did his best work with that roster. You can't ask for more than 9 All-Pros.
And we went.
Yeah. But this year, the roster is not as good, and the team is not as good.
Don't be looking down at me.
No, I was just looking at the seat I was sitting on the whole playoffs. It was just like this. We wasn't in the playoffs. I was sitting down, the whole seat just like this
Michael
right here.
keep talking about
we were
last
the only
year.
team to lose at home.
Yeah, that's it. And I was just about to say, when you dive into this 12-5 records or whatever it's been, 12 and 4s or whatever it's been, 12 wins a year.
3 years in a row.
Great, that's great.
Let's look at who they play. Boy, I told you that all last year. You kept screaming and hollering at me. I said, man, they ain't playing nobody, Michael. These teams that they beating up on is bad.
No, they didn't have a signature win.
And then when they ran up on the big bosses, they got smashed.
Right.
That's just the reality of it.
That's the key during the season.
That's the reality of it, though, Michael.
And you telling me now, all that you just said, but keep them.
Because you got to.
How you feel about the star players endorsing them, though? That don't happen.
Usually when
guys is on the hot seat, it's like, hey, you know,
I ain't got nothing to do with this. It ain't my problem.
That's up to the front office. Right. That's their job to figure it out. But when they openly come out and say, I like having him here. Yeah. He's been good to my career. That says something.
I really don't want
that really says something.
I really don't want to seem like I'm going against Mike McCarthy.
I don't think you are. I don't think you are. I don't think
you're going against Mike. Hey, you going against Mike.
No, I don't think you're going against Mike McCarthy.
I'm just telling you.
If they're going to hire Deion, they're going to hire Deion. I'm all with it.
To be clear, if they're going to hire Deion, but if it's not Deion, I don't know why you would.
If it ain't Deion, if it ain't Bill Belichick.
No. Nope.
You just
if it's not Deion Sanders, keep Mike McCarthy, please.
Yes.
If it ain't Prime, you might as well keep him.
More discipline. I don't think anybody, and sometimes more discipline comes with the change of voice. With the change of voice. You've been around, they've been with
But see, here's the problem that I have, like Joey said, though. When I go back and I look at the Dallas Cowboys since Mike McCarthy got there, right? When you first think about it, Mike Nolan was a defensive, let's think about it on the defensive side. He ran a certain system on the defensive side. He was eventually shipped off after you brought him in, and he was on hiatus for 12 years before you brought him in. Then you bring in Dan Quinn with the personnel, okay, that Nolan had. That first year, Dan Quinn didn't look like he knew what he was doing until he got the personnel right. Then those couple years, now you're going to come and do it all over again? Now you got Zimmer with Dan Quinn's personnel. Now you're trying to get it to where it could potentially be good. Now you want to change out the personnel again?
I'm working. There are two parts. There's the X's and O's part, but there's Jimmy and Joe's part also. And I'm talking about all of the schematics is not going to matter if we're not focused and directed. You can scheme it up best you can with the best of them. But if we're not focused and directed, if you're not asleep the night before the game,
so you're saying he's just not a good leader.
I'm saying that part of the reason
a different voice will bring about some more discipline.
So you think that part of the reason why CD and Dak and the players are sort of endorsing Mike McCarthy is because they don't want change?
Well, nobody wants change. Very, very few times when you're having the kind of financial success and happiness, everything just like. But But the idea is to win championships, not be comfortable. Not be comfortable, not be happy, not be friendly. Hey, buddy. No, give me some championships. That's all. I'm sorry, they're changing the requirements. I know. I'm really, yeah. Yeah.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.